So I want to take us from tangata whenua to Moana Nui a Kiwa, to the Pacific Ocean, because this is where Aotearoa is located, and introduce you to Jacoba Matapo, who is the Associate Dean Pasifika at the Faculty of Education and Social Work at the University of Auckland, and another amazing young scholar with wonderful words of wisdom for us. Thank you.
Kia ora, kia orana, katoa toa, talofa lava, malo elelei, whakalofa lahi atu, nisambuli vinaka, taloha ni, warm Pacific greetings to you all on this cold Wellington night. I'd like to share with you my pepeha. Ko Kiavi, toku maunga, ko Eloloa, toku awa, ko Moana Nui a Kiwa, toku moana, ko Hamoa, toku iwi, ko Siumu, toku hapu, ko Jacoba Matapo, toku ingoa. I intentionally share with you this map here, which shows you Siumu. Many people ask me, where do you go in Samoa? I say Siumu is the place to go. And this is my awa. This is a freshwater spring that you can only find in Siumu, but has been the life force for many generations in my Samoan family. And up the top there is my father, Nicholas van der Walle. He's from Leiden, the South Province of Holland, and my mother. Both met in a factory in Avondale, not a word of English. So love has no boundaries. I express my utmost respect and gratitude to tangata whenua, to local iwi, te āti awa, as we gather here on this their ancestral land, their tūranga waiwai this day. I acknowledge Le Atua and our ancestors who are always present with us through time and space. I acknowledge our Māori and Pacific leaders, our knowledge custodians who are always present in our mahi, to raise global understandings of Indigenous ways of being and knowing. Whawhataitele lava mo lenei awanoa. I express my gratitude for this time and space to speak, and for all of you who are present here this evening. As I was planning for my presentation and antagonising over this concept, decolonise, which is a position I'd like to take in my discussion of global citizenship education, I found it extremely difficult to frame the concept of global citizenship education as an act of decolonising. I questioned how one must first address the regimes of colonisation and how these regimes have taken a toll on many Indigenous nations through politics of oppression, economic marginalisation, land confiscations in the guise of sovereignty, education for assimilation, and the condemning of Indigenous epistemology. These are very real tensions for us today, as we see in South Auckland the protests for ihimato. In the Pacific, we think of our Hawaiian tangata and their protests for Mauna Kea. And in West Papua, the Indigenous peoples fight for sovereignty and the prevention of further land exploitation through excessive mining. Decolonisation has been conceptualised in many ways, contesting the regimes of colonisation. So I ask, how can global citizenship education shake off the shackles of colonisation? As a Samoan Pasifika academic in Pasifika early childhood education, I've grown increasingly sceptical of universalised concepts, theories, and philosophy that are readily accepted in normative education practice, particularly concepts that are presented as universal to all Pacific peoples, based upon humanistic ideals and deontological ethics. I raise personal tensions here through such questions that I continue to navigate when confronting my personal convictions to decolonise education. Now, shifting to the definition of global citizenship framed by UNESCO in 2015, there is an emphasis on a sense of belonging to a broader community and global humanity, whereby political, cultural, economic, and social interconnectedness and interdependency are grounded upon a common human rights-based, socially just and democratic ideology. The term Pasifika, many of you probably know and wonder what's the difference between Pasifika and Pacific. Well, Pasifika is a terminology coined in New Zealand that is a unified symbol of all Pacific peoples living in New Zealand, but not to homogenise. So the term Pasifika is a transnational concept. It already demonstrates global border crossing of Pacific peoples in their responsibilities and obligations, particularly independency within the collective, and the sustained intergenerational connection to ancestral lands. One such example I express in this discussion is my personal responsibility to my nu'u, to my village, and my ancestral lands in Samoa. As a New Zealand-born Samoan, I journey daily in and with culture to inform my reality, my history and belonging to place, both home in Aotearoa and in Samoa. My contribution to collective in Samoa takes many forms, from daily communication to the preparation I am taking to be bestowed a chiefly title, the first woman in my ainga. So I connect here to the cosmogony of Pacific peoples, our creation stories, where it challenges the human subject. And what I mean by the human subject here is the human subject presented in the great chain of being, that human rights is privileged over earth, sea, skies, and cosmos. Pacific scholars Epeli Hauofa and more recently Ingersoll, a Hawaiian scholar, invite us to reconceptualize notions of belonging just to land places. Why must we connect to waters as well as island locations, to cosmos as well as earth? The act of critique by way of Pacific Indigenous thinking opens a cosmic paradigm that affects spatio-temporality of being between human and other than human. One example is when we think about strategic priorities. Often you might have heard the 5-year strategic plan. What about a 10,000-year strategic plan? Can we think differently about time and space? This way of conceptualizing belonging to waters, not only islands, for example, is significant to me. As I operate to decolonize education and Pacific research from a location other than my ancestral lands of Samoa. Born in Aotearoa, having spent the majority of my life living in Aotearoa, I call this my home. I've grown in affinity to specific places, my maunga, my awa, my shared connection with whenua, and lasting relationships with tangata whenua. Through Pacific research, I'm coming to understand the collective histories of Māori and Oceania and Pacific peoples, and I wonder how for Pacific children born in New Zealand feel and sense their belonging to both ancestral lands and to Aotearoa. Perhaps it is moana nui a kiwa, it's the waters that connect and reaffirm belonging. I want to share with you a slide of my son, and he is Cook Island, Samoan, Dutch, Scottish.
Ka tangi titi, ka tangi ka hoki aha, ti hei mauri ora, ko Alex tuku papa, ko Jacoba tuku mama, ko Kaden aha, no reina, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou ka huri.
Technology is great. I refer now to His Highness Tuiatua Tupua Tamasese, a former head of state of Samoa and knowledge custodian, who's theorised this concept of tōwhā sa ili, which is the ongoing human pursuit for knowledge. Tōwhā sa ili in education calls into question harmony between human and non-human life, and the capacity to think beyond human comprehension. This is the human spirit. This example of wisdom presents an unfolding of past, present, future, as all life, human and non-human, are cosmically connected. Decolonising as an embodied and embedded practice of wisdoms is as much about coming to know self in relation to others, past, present, cosmos, land, seas and skies, calling upon wisdoms from a Samoan Aotearoa point of view. I share with you this narrative. This is called Feel My Reach. Daughter, hold my hand, be still, listen to me. These hands of mine have much to say. They will tell you of worlds before and of your ancestors past. Each wrinkle, each line, a collective spirit etched in body and mind. Oh, these stories these hands can tell. These hands are not mine alone. I have shared my hands in sustaining life. Many years of healing, of giving, and in pushing strong fists forward, fighting for rights to be heard. So for you in this place in Aotearoa belong, to have your voice known. Oh, the stories these hands can tell. Take my hand, granddaughter. Let me lead you along. These hands of yours are young, and your stories yet to come. Your hands are mine, and mine are yours. Use your hands wisely in the choices you make. Push strong fists forward, so generations to come will feel your reach and know of your wisdoms of worlds before and of your ancestors past. Oh, the stories that these hands will tell. Indigenous personhood flows out of a belief in sacred kinship with all creation and deep sense of belonging to an interrelational woven universe. At the heart of Indigenous knowledge is a spiritual core, a belief in co-evolution, whereby humans did not evolve only in relationship to each other, but that all of creation co-evolved in a symbiotic spiritual exchange, and we all connect to a shared origin. Confronting the human subject as a universal being opens possibilities to rethink existential questions. What does it mean to be human? What is privileged when politics are constrained to human capacities only? How can we confront the taken for granted truths presented in the Western canon that informs much of education policy and global education discourses? In her resistance to universal humanist position that privileges humans' capacities to think, Pasifika researcher Kornai Helu-Tharman writes, "You say that you think, therefore you are, but thinking belongs in the depths of the earth. We simply borrow. What we need to know, these islands, the sky, the surrounding sea, the trees, the birds, and all that are free, the misty rain, the surging river, pools by the blowholes, a hidden flower, have their own thinking. They are different frames of mind that cannot fit in a small selfish world." Whawhataite le lava.